And anyway, so you've seen how harsh the environment is. So people actually prostrate on the road all the way to Mount Kailash from Lhasa, which is, I don't know how many miles, it's very far. So what they have to do is they have to wear like a leather apron, and they have these kind of wooden sliders on their hands. And so what they do is they do their prostrations like this, and they kind of like clap the sliders together. They touch all the different points of the body, and then they do full length prostrations the whole way. And that's what they do. And they get very, very dirty. People also do the same thing in Bodhgaya Stupa in Bihar in India, which is the place of Buddha's enlightenment. And they just circumambulate on the holy days. You'll see many people circumambulating around. It's filthy there. And you're breathing in all this kind of dust and dirt and germs, and people do it. Again, they have these little wooden sliders. And so when you're actually doing these prostrations so I did quite a few there. It's a beautiful, beautiful community environment, because you'll find that there's so many people come from all over the world just to do prostrations at the Bodhgaya Stupa. And so you have this real sense of community there with everybody doing the same thing. And so you go down to the Namgyalma monastery, which is His Holiness's monastery, and you rent a prostration board, and there's people there that will take the prostration board for you into the stupa area. You find yourself a spot under a nice shady tree, and then you get yourself a tarpaulin, because overnight when you get there in the morning, it's heavy, heavy dew there, like it's pouring with rain. So everything gets wet. And then you get there in the morning and you find the dogs are kind of sleeping on your prostration board. And they're the kind of the local dogs that live there at the stupa, they're very, very sweet. And then you can buy yourself these like padded little pads. They're sort of, I guess they're like mittens that you would use to kind of for the oven or whatever like that. And then you have a little kind of a prostration mat, which is also made out of the same material. It's sort of like an oven mitt, but kind of long. And then you usually get a little counter, and then you do the prostrations. And I think that the danger of doing the prostrations and counting them is that you kind of lose the beauty of the visualization you can, because you get so focused on, I've got to do 100,000 of these and I've got to do 3 sessions in a day. But really the import of this is to purify and create merit. And that's the main point with the prostrations. And if it's not physically available to you to do the full length, the long prostration, then there's alternatives. So I'm assuming that everybody here knows what a long prostration looks like. And if you don't, I can demonstrate. Just put your hand up if you don't know what it looks like. Just let me know. Everyone knows what a long prostration looks like. Okay. So I have a monk friend who lives in Australia. He's a Gyuto monk. He was quite advanced in the hierarchy in his monastery. And he got typhoid one time traveling through India. He decided to eat some ice cream, which was not the smartest thing in the world to do. And all he could do was sit on his bed and recite the 35 Buddhas with his hands in prayer. So that is the most basic. So you start there. So Beth, if that's where you're at, Jay, if that's where you're at, you sit there and you recite it, and you can, in fact, when you're not doing the physical prostrations, you have more of an opportunity to visualize and focus on that visualization. Because once you've got the visualization down, you can actually, it's a way you sometimes you feel like you're flying. And I did have a dream like that, actually, after I was doing some prostrations. I felt like I was flying through the prostrations. It can be quite a nice feeling. So what you'll see often in, some of the monks will be like, oh, yeah, I did 100,000 prostrations in 2 weeks. Well, that takes a huge amount of effort. And that's not really what I'm interested in, because you can get back issues, you can get wrist issues and arm issues and shoulder issues, and that's not super helpful. So then the next level would be still sitting or standing. You just kind of go, you touch the crown of the head. This is the Ushnisha, which, we don't have one, but Shakyamuni Buddha did. And the crown of the head is there, and then you can touch your third eye, and then you can touch your throat chakra, and then you can touch your heart chakra. And then after that, you would go down into your prostration. So that would be the next level of simplicity, where you're not actually having to do everything. But if your shoulders aren't flexible and you can't get yourself above here, you just go where you can. Like if you can't lift your hands up to here, you just touch your forehead and your throat and your heart, and that's enough. And then, so the next level, you'll see, you would just go like this. It would be almost like, this is what you'd call a short prostration. So I've done like this. And then you just kind of go like this, and you just drop your knees, and then you just touch your forehead to the floor. And then you would shift your weight backwards. You can use your hands to kind of push you back if you wish. Shift your weight backwards, get yourself balanced, and then come back up and start again. So for those of you that are doing kind of yoga practice or some kind of physical practice, this is not going to be very hard for you. But not everybody's even able to do this. So when you're coming up, watch out for your back, your lower back. I'm going to take my Zen off, it's getting in the way. So just be careful that you're using, when you're coming back up, you need to use your quads, not your lower back. If you start to lose your lower back and your sacrum, you're going to hurt yourself. So I really wanted to emphasize how to take care of your body for those of us getting older, for those who've had COVID or any kind of physical injuries while you're doing this practice, particularly if you have numbers to count. So does anyone have any questions about that? And are you all okay doing the various different types of prostrations? Wendy, hi. You want to say something?
Yeah. Hi, Venerable Katy. I hope you're feeling better.
I am, and thank you for your patience. I felt really bad I couldn't be there, but anyway, go on.
Well, I said in the chat that I've learned a little bit about the background of the 35 Buddhas from Geshe Sonam in Yeshe Ling. We went through the text of it. I had like more basic questions, like why 35 Buddhas and who are these guys? Like I feel like I've kind of like identified with 3 of them, but I like there's so many of them. I kind of, for me, it would help to know who I'm prostrating to, because I know about like Shakyamuni Buddha, but I don't know like Radiant Jewel or you know, I think I know Tathagata Buddha, but like, you know, there's so many, you know what I mean? I kind of would like to know more about the 35.
Okay, and so let's go through them then, shall we? And then I will, so here I'm going to share the 35 Buddha Tanka, which you have so nicely put up there on your own screen. Thank you for the question. It sort of allowed us to segue into the class. We're kind of going a little bit backwards here, but that's okay. This is good. So who you see in front of you here, and sometimes these tankas are going to be a little bit different. But you have Shakyamuni Buddha there. And you can also imagine that this is the mind of your teacher manifesting in this form for your benefit. And Shakyamuni Buddha has, although you can't really see very well, 1,000-armed Chenrezig at his heart. And at the heart of the 1,000-armed Chenrezig is the syllable Shri. And this, from the syllable Shri, this forms beams of light. And the beams of light emanate out, and it forms 6 rows in the space below. And at the end of each beam is a throne supported by elephants and adorned with pearls. And on each throne is seated a Buddha. So also what you can see up there is, it looks to me like there's Namgyalma and Amitabha Oh, Varachana, Amitabha, and I can't quite make out this one here. Could be Vajrasattva. I'm not sure. Anyway, so you have these like supported Buddhas, but again, it would probably depend on the lineage as to which Buddhas are going to be included in the tanka up there. But these rows are going to be the same. So, and this looks like some dakinis down there below, some dancing dakinis. So in the first color, in the first row, there are 6 Buddhas. And this is representing the family of Akshobhya. So, you know, when you present katas to the lamas when they come, we present the 5 colored katas. They're representing the 5 Dhyani Buddhas families. And so this is who these guys are. So, so at the end of each, so the first one is blue in color in the aspect of Akshobhya, with the exception of the 3rd Buddha. This is, you can see with the little white face, and this is the King Lord of the Nagas. And he has a blue color body and a white head. In the second row, there are 7 Buddhas. So the first row there is okay, 6 Buddhas. First row is 6 Buddhas. Akshobhya has 6 Buddhas. In the second row is 7 Buddhas. And this is the family of Varachana, and they are white, these guys. And the third row, even though they don't look yellow, this is Ratnasambhava. In the fourth row are the 7 Buddhas, go down there, in the aspect of Amitabha. And in the 5th row, there are also 7 Buddhas. In the aspect of, oh, that was Amitabha, Amagasiddhi. That's the green Buddhas. So already it's starting to form a little bit of a picture with a little bit more meaning. And why I'm happy to be talking about this now is that when you come to learn the order of the 35 Buddhas, because honestly, there is absolutely no logic to why one Buddha would follow after another. And it's so easy to get them confused and mixed up. But once you categorize them into their Buddha families, it's so much easier to learn because you only have to remember 7 or 6 for each Buddha family. And then it does become, then you can learn, when do I change over to the next Buddha? So these are the 35 confession Buddhas, and each one is in the posture of that particular Dhyani Buddha. And the final row are the medicine Buddhas. These are down the bottom here. So that's the 7 medicine Buddhas, and they're all they have different colors. Actually, they're not all blue. So you see this second one from the end is the medicine Buddha, the main medicine Buddha, and the last one is Shakyamuni Buddha. So how you are to think is that each one of these Buddhas is the embodiment of all 3 times 10 directions, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and all the statues and stupas and scriptures. And you think that they all embody all the holy objects whose essence is your precious teacher. So you have complete faith that each one has the power to purify all of your negative karmas and imprints accumulated since beginningless time. And then you imagine that you emanate numberless bodies. So when you're doing a prostration, so this is why it's so wonderful. You can be sick in bed and you can be sitting there and you can visualize yourself prostrating. You can visualize yourself when you're doing the short prostration. You can visualize yourself doing a long prostration. And you imagine yourself as big as possible, as many as possible. And all of these bodies, and as you prostrate, all these amazing bodies of replicas of yourself prostrate along with you, and covering every atom of the earth. So they say that, there's all this sort of talk about how, it's best if you're a big, tall man because you can cover more ground. But I disagree. You can be small and you cannot do long prostrations and you can visualize. So a big, tall man covering lots of ground, who's not doing any visualization probably isn't creating as much merit as a little person just sitting there very diligently visualizing and focusing and concentrating on what they're doing. So intent is very important. So then what we do after we've done that is we start to recite the mantras. But before we go on, because Wendy did have this question about who's who. And I think probably, given we had our internet issues, I'd like to start with I get going with the practice, but there is commentary in the back of this text. And I'll just give you an idea of the first line of Buddha's, the Akshobhya. And I want to talk a little bit about the benefits, because Rinpoche loves benefits. I'm trying to find. And then Rinpoche gives these ideas about all the different things that you can think while you're prostrating. Hang on a second. Okay. So the first mantra that we do is the mantra to Guru Shakyamuni Buddha. And it says that this, when you do this one, it purifies 40,000 eons of negative karma. Sometimes it's said that 80,000 eons are purified. And then the first of the Akshobhya Buddhas is thoroughly destroying with Vajra essence and Dorje Nyingpo. And so that's 10,000 eons of negative karma are purified. Also by reciting it, you become enlightened. And then it goes on, the next one, radiant jewel, 10,000 eons, king, lord of the Nagas, 1,000 eons, purifies Naga harm. This Buddha liberated so many Nagas from suffering, benefited them so much, healed their sicknesses. Therefore, the Nagas are indebted to this Buddha, king, lord of the Nagas. So if you recite the Naga king mantra name, any sicknesses caused by Nagas, such as cancer and ulcers, leprosy, sicknesses, infections, both inside and outside, and all skin disease, white marks on the skin is purified. All skin disease is due to Nagas. Also bone aches, like when people sit, is all due to Nagas. By reciting this name, you purify Naga harms. Also, you can think of people who have these sicknesses, and then when you recite this, nectar comes from the Buddha and purifies them. This can be very, very helpful. If you have these sicknesses caused by Nagas, you can purify yourself by visualizing and reciting the name mantra. This is regarded as very powerful purification. By reciting this Buddha's mantra 100,000 times, it completely heals the sickness of leprosy. Those very heavy negative karmas, as that result in suffering you see in this life, they get purified by reciting this Buddha's name mantra. So this next Buddha, Army of Heroes, purifies negative karma created with speech, especially gossip. So it's very interesting. So Wendy, this is how we get to know them. So delighted hero, this is like inflation. It's like the stock market. Mr. Rinpoche says, I'm joking, purifies negative karma created with the mind. And jewel fire, 2,000 eons you purify. 5 uninterrupted negative karmas, especially causing disunity among the Sangha, also receiving pollution of the Sangha. This means that people offer food, money, and so forth with devotion to the Sangha. Then as a member of the Sangha, you receive it, then one doesn't practice, doesn't live in pure morality, or doesn't practice either. You have to offer service to the Sangha, or you have to practice Dharma, do service or studies or practice and live in pure morality. Otherwise, it becomes pollution. It obscures the mind, obscures realization. This purifies that. And then we move on to Jewel Moonlight. So I'll go through those ones next week. But Wendy, does that give you a little bit of a better idea? Did you want to dive that deep? Maybe you didn't.
No, that's helpful. Yeah, I just still don't know who they are. That was what I was kind of yeah.
So that is does that help to say who they are?
I just was wondering why 35 Buddhas, who they are, how they all ended up together, that kind of thing.
Oh, well, I do not know that. And I'm not sure. I will look around and see if there's some kind of discussion about that somewhere, but I haven't read about that, and I don't know why it's 35. Okay. So I would like to start the practice now, and I'm actually going to see if I can share the second. It says a new share option. See what advances. Portion of screen. Ha 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 ha. Oh. Are you seeing text here? You are. Way, we did it. Okay. Except I have to move this thing around. And do you also see the 35 Buddhas? No. Okay, I lost that. All right. Sorry about this. I know I might be able to do this. Are you seeing some text and the 35 Buddhas? Yay, I did it. Okay. All right. So here we have the text. So let's just start, shall we? So you do whatever works for you in terms of prostrating. And so we start with Shakyamuni Buddha's mantra. Om Namo. Actually, no, this is not Shakyamuni Buddha's mantra. This is Om Namo Manjushri. Om Namo Manjushri. Namo Sushri. Namo Uttima Shri Soha. Om Namo Manjushri. Namo Sushri. Namo Uttima Shri Soha. Om Namo Manjushri. Namo Sushri. Namo Uttima Shri Soha. So when you're doing these mantras, you can also prostrate at the same time if you wish. And Om Namo Manjushri is very much a mantra that I was taught to recite it as I'm, before I get up in the morning and I say hello to the Buddhas and I Om Namo Manjushri. It's almost like hello. And so this next one, Chom Dende Dejin Shebadra Chompayang Dagbaza Pesangi Rinchen Gyaltan La Chak Selo. Chom Dende Dejin Shebadra Chompayang Dagbaza Pesangi Rinchen Gyaltan La Chak Selo. Chom Dende Dejin Shebadra Chompayang Dagbaza Pesangi Rinchen Gyaltan La Chak Selo. Om Namo Bhagavate Ratnaketu Rajaya Tathagataya Arate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tayata Om Ratne Ratne Maharatne Ratna Bijiye Soha. Om Namo Bhagavate Ratnaketu Rajaya Tathagataya Arate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tayata Om Ratne Ratne Maharatne Ratna Bijiye Soha. Om Namo Bhagavate Ratnaketu Rajaya Tathagataya Harate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tayata Om Ratne Ratne Maharatne Ratna Bijiye Soha. Om Namo Bhagavate Ratnaketu Rajaya Tathagataya Harate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tayata Om Ratne Ratne Maharatne Ratna Bijiye Soha. Om Namo Bhagavate Ratnaketu Rajaya Tathagataya Harate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tayata Om Ratne Ratne Maharatne Ratna Bijiye Soha. Om Om Namo Bhagavate Ratnaketu Rajaya Tathagataya Harate Samyak Sambudaya Taya Cha Om Ratne Ratne Maharatne Ratna Bijiye Soha. Then you say homage to the confession of the Bodhisattva's downfalls. So you can see why there is some benefit in learning the names. Because when you're trying to do the prostrations and counting, if that's what you're doing, and you have to keep looking at the paper, it gets difficult. So what you can do also is record this whole practice and put it on your phone or wherever, and then you play it. So here we are, homage the confession of the Bodhisattva's downfalls, and you say I and your name throughout all times, take refuge in the Buddhas, take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. I, throughout all times, take refuge in the Guru, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. I, and say your name, throughout all times, take refuge in the Guru, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. So this mantra here, Tompa Chomdende Deji Shepadra, is something that Lama Yeshe wanted the monks to do before they entered, or as they were entering the Gompa at Kopan. And you'll see even the little ones do this as they're entering. So we're going to do that now. I'm just going to turn some light on. So it's getting dark. Okay. Oh, Tompa Chomdende Dejin Shepadra Chompa Yang Dagba Zerpe Sange Gelpa Sange Palgalwa Shakya Tupala Chagselo Tompa Chomdende Dejin Shebadra Chompa Yang Dagba Zerpe Sange Gelpa Palgalwa Shakya Tupala Chagselo Tompa Chomdende Dejin Shebadra Chompa Yang Dagba Zerpe Sange Palgalwa Shakya Tupala Chagselo. I do have it. There's another tune to that. It's just dropped out of my head for the minute. I will get back to it. Then we start to the Tathagata, thoroughly destroying the Vajra essence. So here are the blue Buddhas. And so what you can do is you can mark in your text the Akshobhya family, the blue Buddhas. So this is where on the first row here, Tathagata, thoroughly destroying Vajra essence. I prostrate. So now you can do one of two things with this. You can recite each name, which is what I do. You recite each name 3 times and then move on to the Medicine Buddha prostration names and the confession of the Bodhisattva's downfalls. Or you can recite the whole of the Buddhas once and then twice and then 3 times. But when I was doing the prostrations at the Bodhgaya Stupa, I decided this was easier for my mind for some reason. So I'll do each one 3 times. That's the way I'm doing it. So that was the first one. And then we get the second one of the blue family, the Akshobhya family, is to Tathagata, thoroughly destroying Vajra essence. So Tathagata, thoroughly destroying Vajra essence. To Tathagata, thoroughly destroying with Vajra essence, I prostrate. And then we have, where am I? That was the thoroughly destroying Vajra essence, I prostrate. So that's the first one, sorry. The second one is Tathagata, radiant jewel. To Tathagata, radiant jewel. To Tathagata, radiant jewel, I prostrate. And the third one is the King Lord of the Nagas. To Tathagata, King Lord of the Nagas. To Tathagata, King Lord of the Nagas. To Tathagata, King Lord of the Nagas, I prostrate. And then we have to Tathagata, Army of Heroes. To Tathagata, Army of Heroes. To Tathagata, Army of Heroes, I prostrate. And then the second last one, to Tathagata, Delighted Hero. To Tathagata, Delighted Hero. To Tathagata, Delighted Hero, I prostrate. And then the last one, to Tathagata, Jewel Fire. To Tathagata, Jewel Fire. To Tathagata, Jewel Fire, I prostrate. So that's the end of the Akshobhya family. So Wendy, I just wanted to, it's sitting in my mind a little. Did you feel that you got to understand who those Buddhas were a little bit better with that very short explanation I gave earlier? Or do you need to know more?
Oh, I thank you, Venerable Katy. It helps to see the pictures alongside and to hear you recite it. That is helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess
Okay.
I still was kind of wondering, like, are there aspects of the Buddha, or they were different bodhisattvas? I know these are basic questions. I haven't been practicing long, but
No, I think we all have the same questions. And Tibetan Buddhism is extremely ritualistic, highly, highly intricate, and very, very, it's a lot of detail. So in one lifetime, one person isn't going to get all of it. But from what I understand, is that you can see these Buddhas are emanating from Guru Shakyamuni Buddha's heart. So they're all different aspects of Shakyamuni Buddha. And this is how I've heard Venerable Rabina talk about it. They're not just kind of these individual, they're all aspects of Shakyamuni Buddha. I understood that, but I could be wrong, and I can find out if you like. But it does look like, it's not, yeah, Tantra is complicated. The main thing I think for now, before you go on to who are they, I think you're safe to say these are representatives of the 5 Buddha families, and they're related to the 5 tantric families, the highest yoga tantric, well, the 5, not highest yoga, but the 5 tantric families. And whether they are aspects of Shakyamuni Buddha or whether they're little Buddhas on their own, I don't know exactly, but I have a feeling that they all come from the same place. But there's not just one out there. There's probably many, many, many duplicates of these. And you have to also remember, we're talking about, actually, when you come down to it, we're basically talking about energy and light and power. And, it's kind of a way of, in the Tibetan and the Indian tradition, this is their way of expressing what they learned. So maybe if this tradition had developed somewhere other than India and Tibet, it may have looked a bit different. And when you go to different countries and you see Buddhism practiced in different places, it's highly, highly influenced by the culture of that country. So you look at Zen Buddhism, you go to Korea and you look at what Buddhism looks like there, or you go to southern India and or Sri Lanka, and you look at what Buddhism looks like there. So there is that aspect as well. I find it very helpful. I like Tibetan Buddhism. I love all the color and the light and the imagery and the visualization. It somehow feels to me like it brightens the mind. But I think if we can, in this kind of these few sessions, I think if we can capture even a little bit of a meaning of each of these rows, these 6 rows, and remember, and learn the names of the Buddhas and be able to recite them and then know what their colors are, I think you're doing really, really well. You're probably ahead of most people. So it's a really good place to start. So once you've got all of this information in your head, all of this information in your mind, you'll just keep doing this practice, and it's only going to go deeper. And then, you might run into someone who's a scholar in this practice, and they'll be able to probably answer your question. But where do they come from? I'm not sure. I don't know enough background of it to know that. But I'm under the impression they're aspects of Shakyamuni Buddha. Different, many, many different. And they all represent different psychological aspects. So one of them was, purifying the gossip, purifying our speech. Another one is purifying harm caused by nagas. So they all have a slightly different job to do. You can notice they're all got different hand mudras. They're all sitting, slightly differently. And okay, so now we're up to the white ones. This is the Varicana family. Wendy, did that answer your question?
Yes, that's very helpful. I like the idea of them being kind of energies, and also what you said about the different jobs.
Yeah. And we are dealing with energy here. This is not nothing. When you go into a place say, for example, I was, for many years before COVID, I was going up to Laudo Gompa, and it's hard to study in this environment in the West. I find it's difficult to focus because there's so many distractions here. And you go up to, or to even meditate, and you go up to Laudo Gompa and you walk into the cave, and it's just immediately, shoo, it's like so easy. And that's the power of the energy of the place, and also the power of all of the people who have done practices there. And they said that, it's also called the Cave of the Blessings. So Guru Rinpoche apparently flew in from somewhere, meditated there for a while as well. So you've had some pretty powerful practitioners in that cave. And when you go there, you can really feel it. And it's energy. I don't know how else to describe it. Chi, prana, however people like to talk. But sometimes I think when we take it into the vernacular, we can get a little bit too intellectual about it. And once we've started to do that, I think you can remove the magic a little bit. But this is a magical, beautiful, magical practice. And it's physically can be quite challenging. But if you do the visualizations, or even if you're not such a great visualizer, just do the very, very best you can, or imagine the energy, and then you learn all what each of the Buddhas is doing. You can think about that and you can meditate on it as you're doing the prostrations. So you can go quite deep with it and really get enormous benefit from doing it. So, and I think the more you do it, the more you'll learn, and it'll be like, it's almost like a unflowering. It's different layers. You'd be like, oh, wow. So it's not just a chore to kind of prostrate your way through. Oh, here it goes again, da, 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 da. All right. Thank you, Wendy, for your question, because you basically did, it's changed the direction of the class. Anyway, so here we go. The white ones. Here is this Buddha. First one is the Tathagata jewel moonlight. The Tathagata jewel moonlight. Tathagata jewel moonlight, I prostrate. Next one. Tathagata meaningful to see. Tathagata meaningful to see. Tathagata meaningful to see, I prostrate. The third one. Tathagata jewel moon. Tathagata jewel moon. Tathagata jewel moon, I prostrate. The fourth one. Tathagata stainless one. Tathagata stainless one. Tathagata stainless one, I prostrate. And the fifth one. Tathagata bestowed with courage. Tathagata bestowed with courage. Tathagata bestowed with courage, I prostrate. And the sixth one. Tathagata bestowed with purity. Tathagata pure one. Tathagata pure one. Tathagata pure one, I prostrate. Tathagata bestowed with purity. Tathagata bestowed with purity. Tathagata bestowed with purity, I prostrate. So as you can see, there's absolutely no logic as to why one Buddha would follow the other. So this is why it's necessary to learn in groups of color. I think that's just the easiest way to go. And even if you have a colored pencil and you can just color your text, or put little kind of, for each set of Buddhas, you'll learn it very, very easily. You'll go, oh, now I'm up to the white Buddhas. Oh, now I'm up to the yellow Buddhas. So we're up to the yellow Buddhas now. They look a little bit more orange than yellow, but anyway. So they're yellow, Ratnasambhava. And this is supposed to be about expansion. So the first one is Tathagata water god, Tathagata water god, Tathagata water god, I prostrate. And then second one, Tathagata deity of the water god, Tathagata deity of the water god, Tathagata deity of the water god, I prostrate. And then third one, Tathagata glorious goodness, Tathagata glorious goodness, Tathagata glorious goodness, I prostrate. And then Tathagata glorious sandalwood, Tathagata glorious sandalwood, Tathagata glorious sandalwood, I prostrate. And then Tathagata infinite splendor, Tathagata infinite splendor, Tathagata infinite splendor, I prostrate. And I can't see because I've got everybody. And then the next one, Tathagata glorious light, Tathagata glorious light, Tathagata glorious light, I prostrate. And the last one is Tathagata son of non-craving, Tathagata son of non-craving, Tathagata sorrowless, Tathagata glorious light, Tathagata glorious light, the Tathagata glorious light, I prostrate. That's the end of the yellow Buddhas. And then we come to Amitabha, the red Buddha family. Just check I've got this right one. Okay. First one, Tathagata sorrowless glory, to Tathagata sorrowless glory, to Tathagata sorrowless glory, I prostrate. To Tathagata son of non-craving, to Tathagata son of non-craving, to Tathagata son of non-craving, I prostrate. To Tathagata glorious flower, to Tathagata glorious flower, to Tathagata glorious flower, I prostrate. To Tathagata pure light rays, clearly knowing by play, to Tathagata pure light rays, clearly knowing by play, to Tathagata pure light rays, clearly knowing by play, I prostrate. To Tathagata lotus light rays, clearly knowing by play, to Tathagata lotus light rays, clearly knowing by play, to Tathagata lotus light rays, clearly knowing by play, I prostrate. To Tathagata glorious wealth, to Tathagata glorious wealth, to Tathagata glorious wealth, I prostrate. To Tathagata glorious mindfulness, to Tathagata glorious mindfulness, to Tathagata glorious mindfulness, I prostrate. So one thing I do remember is I was listening to some commentary by Rinpoche about this, and Rinpoche did talk about this is also to do with talking about people behind their backs. This Buddha purifies that as well. But we also heard that one of the Akshobhya family Buddhas also does the same. So they're probably slightly different, subtle aspects of different types of speech in there as well. So here we have the green Buddhas, Ratnasambhava. Amaga City, beg your pardon. To Tathagata glorious name widely renowned, to Tathagata glorious name widely renowned, to Tathagata glorious name widely renowned, I prostrate. To Tathagata king holding the victory banner of foremost power, to Tathagata king holding the victory banner of foremost power, to Tathagata king holding the victory banner of foremost power, I prostrate. To Tathagata glorious one totally subduing, to Tathagata glorious one totally subduing, to Tathagata glorious one totally subduing, I prostrate. To Tathagata utterly victorious in battle, to Tathagata utterly victorious in battle, to Tathagata utterly victorious in battle, I prostrate. To Tathagata glorious transcendence through subduing, to Tathagata glorious transcendence through subduing, to Tathagata glorious transcendence through subduing, I prostrate. To Tathagata glorious manifestations illuminating all, to Tathagata glorious manifestations illuminating all, to Tathagata glorious manifestations illuminating all, I prostrate. Sorry, I turned the page too fast. To Tathagata all subduing jewel lotus, to Tathagata all subduing jewel lotus, to Tathagata all subduing jewel lotus, I prostrate. And this last mantra is to purify any negativity that you have created towards your own precious teachers. To Tathagata Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, King, Lord of the mountains, firmly seated on jewel and lotus, I prostrate. To the Tathagata Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, King, Lord of the mountains, firmly seated on jewel and lotus, I prostrate. To Tathagata Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, King, Lord of the mountains, firmly seated on jewel and lotus, I prostrate. And so then we go through the prostrations to the 7 medicine Buddhas, and there's these little guys down here. To the Bhagawan Tathagata Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, renowned, glorious, King of excellent signs, I prostrate. And so I understand you recite each of the 7 Buddhas once only. To the Bhagawan Tathagata Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, King of melodious sound, brilliant radiance of skill, adorned with jewels, moon, and lotus, I prostrate. To the Bhagawan Tathagata Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, stainless excellent gold, illuminating jewel, who accomplishes all conduct, I prostrate. To the Bhagawan Tathagata Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, glorious supreme one, free from sorrow, I prostrate. To the Bhagawan Tathagata Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, melodious ocean of proclaimed Dharma, I prostrate. To the Bhagawan Tathagata Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, clearly knowing by the play of supreme wisdom of an ocean of Dharma, I prostrate. To the Bhagawan Tathagata Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, medicine guru, king of, it says lapis light, but Rinpoche started talking about sapphire light, I prostrate. And then we go to the confession prayer. And so then there's the Shakyamuni Buddha at the end there. Okay. Any questions at this point before we go on to the, hang on, I'm just going to, oh, I need to see someone. Okay. Before we go on to the confession prayer. Anybody? No questions? Mary, did you want to say something? No? Okay. Wendy? Jay? Sheila? You guys just all shy? Home. One second. If you don't say anything, I'll just keep talking. So anyway,
so okay. I have a question. So these prayers. I mean, I only got. I'm missing a line of a family, but these are all like the first part is all for purification.
Yeah.
That's the
who is that? Who is
Sheila.
that? Sheila. Oh, there you're there. The whole practice is purification.
Right.
The whole practice. It's usually done as a nundro. So you do 100,000 mantras of the 35 Buddhas, and each practice includes the confession prayer. But it in the text it talks about how to do it, in retreat. But it's done as a means to sort of, I don't know, cleanse the airs, purify your mind, and kind of set your mind into the right mental space. And so some people do go into retreat, like Tenzin Palmo, the cave in the snow.
Yeah.
Nun, right? So she's Kagyu, so they do a lot. They do their nundro quite seriously before they do their 3 or 4 year retreat. So she started out at the border of Ladakh, or on the border of Tibet and India, and I think she was in Ladakh. I'm not sure. Anyway, she started in a monastery, and she started. I think she must have already done like 100,000. She spent 3 years or 2 years or something in the monastery, and then she felt that she hadn't really done it properly. So she moved into a cave a little bit further up the mountain. She started the whole thing again, which I was just amazed. When I read her book, I was like, no, you already did those. But she didn't feel that she'd done them in a way that was satisfactory to her. So she just repeated the whole lot. So, I mean, there's levels and there's levels. But there's absolutely enormous benefit from, and if we have time, I'll talk a little bit about what Rinpoche says about the benefits. There's enormous benefit to just doing this, even if all you do is recite this when you go for a walk, record it, put it in your ears and listen to it as you're walking. That's better than not doing it at all. So, I mean, you guys that live in New York, you might spend quite a bit of time on the, public transport. This is something that you can do on the public transport. And no one needs to know what you're doing. You just put it in your ear. And there it is. Okay. As opposed to Netflix. Actually, I watched a lot of Netflix when I was sick. I couldn't do anything else. Okay. So I have to move this. I've just got to move you guys out of the way a little bit. So we start this 35 confession of the 35 Buddhas. So you say, all those, you 35 Buddhas and others, as many Tathagatas, Arhats, perfectly completed Buddhas, as there are existing, sustaining and residing in all the world systems of the 10 directions. All you Buddha Bhagawans, please pay attention to me. In this life and in all the states of rebirth in which I have circled in samsara throughout beginningless lives, whatever negative actions I've created, made others create, or rejoiced in the creation of, whatever possessions of stupas, possessions of the Sangha, or possessions of the Sangha of the 10 directions that I have appropriated, made others appropriate, or rejoiced in the appropriation of, whichever among the 5 actions of immediate retribution I have done, caused to be done, or rejoiced in the doing of, whichever paths of the 10 non-virtuous actions I have engaged in, caused others to engage in, or rejoiced in the engaging in, or rejoice in whatever I have created being obscured by these karmas, causes me and sentient beings to be born in the hell realms, in the animal realm, and in the preta realm, in irreligious countries, as barbarians or as long life gods, with imperfect faculties, holding wrong views, or not being pleased with the Buddha's descent. In the presence of the Buddha Bhagawans, who are transcendental wisdom, who are eyes, who are witnesses, who are valid, and who see with omniscient consciousness, I am admitting and confessing all these negativities. I will not conceal them nor hide them, and from now and in the future, I'll abstain and refrain from committing them again. All Buddha Bhagawans, please pay attention to me in this life and in all other states of rebirth in which I have circled in samsara throughout beginningless lives, whatever roots of virtue I've created by generosity, even as little as giving just one mouthful of food to a being born in the animal realm, whatever roots of virtue I've created by guarding morality, whatever roots of virtue I've created by following pure conduct, whatever roots of virtue I've created by fully ripening sentient beings, whatever roots of virtue I've created by generating bodhicitta, and whatever roots of virtue I've created by my unsurpassed transcendental wisdom. So you might recognize these as the 6 perfections. So this is, again, different ways of trying to remember the text. All those assembled and gathered, combined together, I fully dedicate to the unsurpassed, the unexcelled, that higher than the high, that superior to the superior. Thus, I completely dedicate to the highest, perfectly complete enlightenment. Just as the previous Buddha Bhagawans have fully dedicated, just as the future Buddha Bhagawans will fully dedicate, and just as the presently abiding Buddha Bhagawans are fully dedicating, like that, I too dedicate fully. I confess all negativities individually. I rejoice in all the merits. I urge and implore all the Buddhas to grant my request. May I receive the highest, most sublime, transcendental wisdom. To the conquerors, the best of humans, those who are living in the present time, those who have lived in the past, and those who are likewise come, to all those who have qualities as vast as an infinite ocean, with hands folded, I approach for refuge. So this confession prayer, if you would call it that, can be recited. You can prostrate through it. So, or you can come and sit down and recite it. When I've done Nunes with Venerable Charles in France, a lot of people take an opportunity to sit down when they're doing that. You can also stand and do it. So, but this general confession needs to be done on one knee, the right knee. So you think, as you confess each of the negative actions contained in this prayer, think to yourself that you've created this negative action not just once, but countless times in this and beginningless lives, whether you remember it or not, and generate strong regret. And the stronger the regret, the greater the purification. And then reflect on the emptiness of each of these negative actions. So remembering that even negative actions do not truly exist from their own side. They arise in dependence on causes and conditions and are merely labeled by the mind. You can either think they are completely non-existent from their own side, or that they are merely labeled by the mind, or that they are hallucination. Whichever method you use to understand emptiness, the conclusion you should come to in your heart is that each of these negativities are completely empty, not existing from their own side, even the slightest atom. So at the end of the confession prayer, Rinpoche advises to make a strong determination to not engage in these negative actions again in the future. And this is called the power of restraint. So here we've engaged in the opponent powers. So you make this promise realistic, even if you're promising simply not to do the negative action, even for just the next 5 minutes or seconds. And this is to make sure that you do not tell a lie to the merit field, or importantly to yourself. So here we are, and you can, so I'm sitting on a chair. I'm not going to kneel because you won't see me anymore, but I have my knee on my chair. So Uhulag, woe is me, O great Guru Vajradhara, all other Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who abide in the 10 directions, and all the Venerable Sangha, please pay attention to me. I, who am named Tenzin circle in cyclic existence since beginning this time until the present, overpowered by mental afflictions such as attachment, aversion, and ignorance. By means of body, speech, and mind, have created the 10 non-virtuous actions. I have engaged in the 5 uninterrupted negative karmas and the 5 nearing uninterrupted negative karmas. I have transgressed the vows of individual liberation, transgressed the vows of bodhisattvas, and transgressed the samaya of secret mantra. I have been disrespectful to my parents. I've been disrespectful to my Vajra masters and to my abbot. I've been disrespectful to my spiritual friends living in ordination. I have committed actions harmful to the 3 jewels, avoided the holy Dharma, criticized the Arya Sangha, harmed sentient beings, and so on. These and many other non-virtuous negative actions I have done, have caused others to do, have rejoiced in others doing, and so forth. In the presence of the great Guru of Vajradhara, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who abide in the 10 directions, and the Venerable Sangha, I admit this entire collection of faults and transgressions that are obstacles to my own higher rebirth and liberation, and are causes of cyclic existence and miserable lower rebirths. I will not conceal them, and I accept them as negative. I promise to refrain from doing these actions again in the future. By confessing and acknowledging them, I'll attain and abide in happiness, while by not confessing and acknowledging them, true happiness will not come. And so then you say this at the end. You think, through the force of reciting these names of the 35 Buddhas of confession and the medicine Buddhas, through the power of their pure prayers and vows. So this is also the thing, is they made a vow and they made prayers to help us, apparently. So that's their job. Their job is to help us. So through the power of generating regret and the other opponent forces, and through the power of having made these prostrations, and here you imagine nectars and light rays descend from the holy bodies of the Buddhas, completely purifying all negative karmas, defilements, and imprints collected on your mental continuum since beginningless time. And here you generate strong faith that your mind has become completely pure. And so at this point you're sitting, and so it's another opportunity to reflect on how things don't probably exist the way they appear to you. So Rinpoche would like to say this: in emptiness there is no I, the creator of negative actions. In emptiness there is no creating of negative actions. In emptiness there are no negative actions created. Even though there are infinite phenomena, in emptiness nothing exists at all. There is no this and that, no me and you, nothing. In emptiness everything is one taste. From this emptiness everything comes into existence. Whatever exists is a manifestation of emptiness. So, you know, as we learn more and more about how Buddhism is in this particular tradition, how light and energy and, you know, love and devotion, dedication, how all these things kind of come together, this idea of emptiness will kind of start to fall into place, but it doesn't happen overnight. But you can really just start by thinking, things don't exist the way I think they do. You know, how many times have you misinterpreted an email or a text because you got it out of context? Or, you know that your dog does not see the world the same way as you. So is he correct or are you correct? So if you start to think like that, you realize that due to your physical structure, you view the world in a certain way. Due to where you grew up, due to your education, due to the way you lean politically, you're going to view the world in a certain way. But that may not be reality. So it's good to question. Don't make yourself crazy, but it's really good to question whether I'm making the correct assumption or not about how things are. So then Rinpoche has some dedication prayers that he suggests that we do. So he's very big on dedication. So we'll do those next time a little bit more in depth. So we can chant this. Gewa di nyurduda lama sangi drugyurne drowa chikyang malupar deyala desa gerpasho Jangchub sem chogrim poche ma ke panam ke gyurji ke panyam parme paryam gong e gong du pelawar shur jam pel pawo jita kim padang kuntu zangpo deyan dejin te, de da kungi jetsu da globchir, gewa di da tangche rab tun. Du sum shek pe gyawa tam cheki, no wa gang la chok tu nag pa te, da gi ge we tsawa di kum kyang. Zang po chu chir rab tu no wa gi, da gi ji nye sak pe gyawa di, ten dang ro wa kum la gang bang dang. Kie par jetsun lo zang drag par yi, tempe ning po ring du sa je sho. And there's more talk about generating merit, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to do all of these prayers each time. So I just wanted to show you the 5 negative karmas that were mentioned in the confession prayer, at the last confession prayer. So the 5 negative karmas are killing your father or your mother, killing an arhat, causing disunity among the sangha, harming a Buddha, and they're called uninterrupted because if this negative karma is accumulated, then immediately after death, without interruption of another life, one is reborn in the lowest hot hell, number 8, the most unbearable one, which has the heaviest suffering. The 5 nearing uninterrupted karmas are committing incest with one's mother, who is an arhat, killing a bodhisattva who is destined to become a Buddha in that very life, killing a Hinayana Arya other than one abiding in the result of arhatship, stealing the possessions of the Sangha, and destroying a stupa or monastery out of hatred. So, I mean, some of the actions well, they're talking about here in the text are heavy, very, very heavy, and a little bit strange. But anyway, what I want to know now, because we're almost at the end here, how's everyone doing? And do you have any more questions? No? So how would you like to go next time? There is another text that I would like to use next time that has the whole practice in it, that's in our retreat prayer book. And it's a little bit more detail in terms of preparatory prayers. So what I would like to do is the morning prayers to go before that you would do before this one, and we'll learn those with the bell. So does everyone have a dojo bell? Yeah? You don't? It doesn't matter if you don't. Sheila, but it's some people do and some people don't. So it doesn't matter if you don't have it. And then because the tunes are so beautiful. I mean, you know, sometimes we wake up in the morning, you don't want to sit down and do a bunch of prayers just reading it out of a book. But if you know the tunes and you know them off by heart and you know it in Tibetan, it's a really, really sweet practice. And I'm going to stop sharing so I can see you all. Here we go. So, you know, we can start our day with a little bit of chanting. And so recently, you know, when I had COVID, I went to see my chiropractor, I think the first week after I got better. And she's a bit geeky, you know, she's totally into all this alternative stuff. And what happened? Oh, yeah. So I'm living at her in a little cottage in the back of her house, right? And her husband has a really old truck. It's a rusty piece of metal with a very sharp tow bar at the back. And I decided she has a charger there. So I pulled my car into the drive and I thought in my COVID brain, I'll get closer. I'll just get a little bit closer. Then the car's not hanging down. I don't know what I was thinking. I heard crack and I went to look at the front of the car and I put a huge hole in the plastic. So I'd missed the number plate by about this much. And there was a huge hole in the plastic. And it was like, my friend went to see her and she came back and she said, Christine said, you probably got out too soon. So next day I went down to Christine and she said, you know, one of the problems that happens with COVID is a thickening of the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve is this nerve that just goes through the whole body. And there is some studies now linking it to long COVID, and there's many things you can do to ameliorate this thickening of the vagus nerve. One of them is to jumping into a cold shower, sniffing lavender oil, chanting. So chanting is, and as we get older, the vagus nerve thickens anyway. So apparently chanting is very helpful to help that vagus nerve. So here is another reason to do some chanting in the morning. Is to help your vagus nerve. Anyway, it's good for the whole body because it's good for the breathing. It kind of uplifts your mind and you're doing something virtuous. And I think that the other thing too is we don't know how much virtue we're creating with these chants. They're so old. And, you know, a lot of them have come from India. And, you know, Shakyamuni Buddha was Hindu. So huge influence from the Hindu tradition. As I'm finding out, as I practice yoga, it's like, God, there's so much overlap. So, you know, I don't know who these guys all were, you know, like a bit like Wendy, where do they all come from? You know, how did they get interpreted in this way? But I think it depends on the way each culture views the world as to how it then gets retranslated and sent out. But it's all good. You know, I have no doubt. But chanting these Sanskrit, this is very beautiful, very, very old, profound language. It's magical in and of itself. So you can kind of heal yourself with chanting out loud, with saying mantras out loud. And the word mantra means mind protection. So it's just all a wonderful, wonderful practice to do. So what I'd like to do, Jennifer, if this is okay, is next time start with the morning prayers and then move on to the prostrations. And I will use the retreat prayer book, the FPMT prayer book, to do that because it segues in so nicely. And are you guys okay with that? Do you want to learn a little bit of chanting? Yeah. Okay. I think it's important to know because, you know, even if all you do in this tradition is that in the morning, you know, it's just such a perfect start to your day. It sets the mind, because sometimes we wake up in the morning like, oh my God, I have to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to go here, I've got to go there. And all of a sudden I better sit down and have breakfast first. And then it's like, oh, whoops, forgot the prayers. And then the day's gone. The prayers haven't happened. I don't know why we call them prayers. It's just kind of anyway, sounds weird. Anyway, it's what it is. Mantras, practice. And it's very, very beneficial for your whole body and your mind and your continuum and all the people that live around you, including your pets. And I saw that Jennifer has 2 there. So, all right. Okay.